A very good morning to all of you, dear students, and all the viewers. Welcome to this session. In today's session, we'll be discussing on three important aspects of human resource management. One is job analysis, job description, and then job specification. I trust that you and your family are safe and healthy. And in today's session, in continuation of our discussion on human resource management, we'll be dealing with these three concepts with a few examples. Before we go to this session, let's have a quick recap of what we had discussed in the previous sessions. We had seen something about human capital management. Hope you remember some of the important concepts that we had discussed on human capital management. We had seen that we are now more interested in measuring the functions of human resource management rather than just studying the theoretical aspect of that. We had seen that human resource management just deals with the functional aspects of human resource manager or human resource department, whereas human capital management deals with the measurement aspect, the quantitative aspects of human resource management. In other words, we had already seen that human capital management helps in leveraging the role of human resource in the organization. In a way, human capital management has helped the human resource function to act as a partner with the organization. And we had seen some of the important differences between human resource management and human capital management. Even though we had seen these two concepts differently, but in practically they're not two different concepts, but they are the two faces of a coin. Human capital management is a continuation of the human resource management. As already we had seen, that human capital management is one step ahead when we compare to human resource management, which helps to measure every aspect of the human resource management activity or the function and tries to measure the functional aspects of human resource management and tries to contribute to the overall performance of the organization. That's the role of human capital management. This is an emerging concept. This is still in an infancy stage where a lot of research is being carried out on human capital management, how human resource can play an important role in measuring all the functional aspects of his performance in the organization and how he can contribute to the overall performance of the organization. That's a challenging task, and many researchers, many OB experts are indeed working hard to understand and to make it a very realistic aspect in measuring the human resource functions and contribute to the overall performance of the organization. We also had seen in human resource management how the human resource function has evolved and some of the aspects which are covered under human resource management under the heading scope of human resource management. We also had seen the process of human resource management, which starts with recruitment and then ends with the employee retention, employee motivation. And also we had seen about recruitment as one of the important function of the human resource management, where we had seen some metrics, how it helps to measure the effectiveness of this recruitment function. And then we had also seen about the human resource planning. So that's the important part of human resource management. We had seen in detail what is human resource planning. Human resource function, when it involves the human resource planning, has to keep in mind these four important aspects. Organization's objective should be to hire the right people at the right time, the right skills in the right place. When we speak about the right people here, there are two aspects. One is the person job fit, other is the person organization fit. We had seen in our offline classes discussion also what is person job fit and what is person organization fit. So the first aspect, when I say the right people, whether the person is fit to do the job, that's called the person job fit. And now the organizations are looking at a broader aspect now. They're not only wanting the people to fit to do the job, but they also have to fit to the organization as a whole. Whether the employee that I'm hiring suits, or can he accommodate to the organizational values, to the organizational system, to the organization culture as a whole. That's a broader aspect of looking the right people, not only person job fit, but also person organization fit. Organizations now, they are more worried, or they are more concerned about getting right people who are not only job fit, but also they are organization fit. Then you have at the right time. It's very important for the organization. Specifically, it's very important for the HR manager to tap the right talent at the right time. If the organization fails to tap the right talent at the right time, that's where the organization suffers with respect to of its performance as a whole, and also could be functional loss. And not only right people who are person job fit and person organization fit, the right time, it's very important that they have the right skills. Now, when we talk about skills, there are various facets of the skills. Skills could be technical skills. Skills could be behavioral skills. Skills could be managerial skills. We also we talk about so-called soft skills, which are very much necessary for any employee. So it's very important for the organization to also look into this third important aspect, whether the person has the right skill set or not. And the fourth aspect is in the right place. That speaks about the person, the place fit, whether the employee that the organization has hired is fit to work in that particular place. There is sometimes mismatch between a person and the place where he works, and that leads to inefficiency. So an organization, when they hire employees, they should always look these four important aspects. HR has to always help the organization to tap the right people who are person job fit and person organization fit, and also at the right time, with the right skills and in the right place. These are the four mantras of human resource planning. So before the HR jumps into human resource planning, he has to keep in mind these four important aspects. And then we had already discussed about the process of human resource planning. So we are not discussing in this session. We saw in the process of human resource planning that the first step is to understand what is my organizational objective, what is the organization vision, mission. So before the HR jumps into the planning aspect of human resource, he should understand what organization wants, what is the demand of the organization, what is the plan of the organization, what is the vision, mission of the organization. That's very important for the HR to understand before he goes into the aspects of planning of human resource. So we are not again dealing with the human resource planning process. Now we are going to the other aspects of human resource management, as already I had said. So in today's session, we'll be talking about job analysis and job description and job specification. So let's go into the details and try to understand this important aspect. So what's a job analysis? When we hear the word job analysis, some people say it's analyzing the job. Yes, in a way, it's right. We try to analyze the job, but it's much more than that. Job analysis is a very broader concept. It lays foundation for many other concepts in human resource management. As already we had seen, the job analysis lays the foundation to understand what is job description and what is job specification and also what is job evaluation. So these are some of the important concepts which are built on the foundation of job analysis. So what we understand by job analysis? Uh, to speak in general terms, the word job analysis here, we can understand all the general information that is required to make a good job. It's very important to understand job analysis. It, it relates to gathering of information, all the general information which is required to develop a good job. That's job analysis. But when we go in detail, you can see on the screen, it's a process. It's not just a one-time activity. It's a process. It's a procedure which involves a lot of other activities also. So it's a procedure where the HR tries to determine the duties and the skills which are required to perform a particular job. Unless until the HR lays down specifically what are the duties, what are the skills required to perform a particular job, you can imagine what kind of a mess can employee create in performing a job. So it's very important for the HR or the organization to lay down clearly the procedure or procedures for determining the duties and skills required for performing a particular job, and also a kind of person who is required to perform the particular job. So you can see the two aspects of job analysis. One, the duties and skills required to perform a particular job, and then the person who is going to perform the job. So there are two aspects. One is a technical aspect and one is a human aspect. So the technical aspect speaks about the duties and skills which are required to perform a job, whereas the human aspects speak about the person who is required to perform the job. So that's about a job analysis. It's a broader concept where organization is trying to collect all the information which is required to develop a good job, where efficiency can be assured and which also enhances the organizational performance as a whole, and the organization can achieve its goals, its mission, whatever it has laid down in the beginning. So that's the role of job analysis. It lays the foundation for all other aspects. Let's go into the details of job analysis, try to understand what are other things which are involved in this concept. If you have to understand more about job analysis, we have to understand something about its functions also and what are the components of job analysis. That's very important us to understand. Before that, let's try to understand the other concept also. So we have something called job description. We also call it as JD. So we had seen now something called job analysis, where the organization or the HR tries to collect all the general information with respect to the duties and the skills required to perform a particular job, and also what kind of person will be performing a job. Now we'll go, we're trying to narrow down the concept here. We're going to describe a job based on the job analysis information. As I already said, job analysis is a foundation for many other concepts. And job description is possible with the help of job analysis information. So what is job description? As the word clearly says, it's a self-explanatory. We describe a job. So how we describe a job? You take an accountant, you take a supervisor, you take a manager, you take a director of the company, or chairman of the organization, CEO of the organization. So how we describe the job? So if you look at this aspect on the screen, the concept of job description, we'll understand what is involved in defining or describing a particular job. It's also a process where all the list of the job duties or the duties which are involved in performing a particular job, and also the responsibilities which are carried by the person who is performing the job, the reporting relationships involved in the job, the working conditions of the particular job, the supervisory responsibilities, one product of job analysis. So we have to understand job description is a product of job analysis. We are going in details now. So as we already had seen, job analysis is a broader aspect. We are trying to collect broader information on the duties and skills to perform a particular job and who has to do that. Now we are going specifically in describing the job, where we are trying to narrow down on the job duties, on the responsibilities that the employee has to carry out, on the reporting to whom he has to report and who will report him, the working conditions that the employee will be working, and the supervisory responsibilities. It also includes the leadership responsibilities here. So all these some of the aspects of job description. So when we say that we are describing a particular job, we have to consider these aspects. Let's take an example. If, for example, if we are taking safety officer, safety officer is a job. That's a title, job title. And now we have to give the JD of that safety officer job. So what are the job duties? So if we list down one by one, what are the job duties of a safety officer, that gives us the duties to be performed by him. Then what are the responsibilities that he has to carry out? Now on him, uh, you find a lot of important responsibilities laid because his job is such. And we also see the reporting relationship, to whom the safety officer has to report and who is that reports to safety officer. Then you have working conditions. So under what working conditions the safety officer is going to work? Is it a blue collar? Is it a white collar? So we have to establish even the working conditions and the supervisory responsibilities. So these are some of the aspects of job description. JD, we usually call it as JD. Let's move forward to the third aspect. It's job specification. So we had seen what is job analysis, what is job description, and job specification. And when we look at the differences of between all these concepts, we can see that we are moving from broader aspect to the narrow aspect. So job analysis is a very broader aspect, has all the information that is required to perform a particular job. And then we narrow down to job description. We specifically describe what is required to perform a particular job. And then we again narrow down, we specify what is required to perform a job. So here is the concept. So job specification is also a process. In a way, all these three concepts, it is a process, it is not a one-time activity. So job specification is a list of jobs, human requirements. That is the requisite education, skills, personality, and so on. This is also a product of job analysis, as we already had seen that job analysis is a foundation for many other concepts. So even job specification is possible only with the effective job analysis information. So job specification here means that we specify what are the minute requirements which are required to perform a particular job. Even the minutest requirement is considered in developing the job specification, which includes the educational requirements, which includes the skill requirements, which also includes the personality that is required in the person who is performing the job, and so on. So it clearly specifies some of the details specifically required in a person who has to perform a job. So that's a job specification, as the name itself says. We are trying to specify the requirements in a human or a person that is going to perform a particular job. That's job specification. So these are three important components. I've just given a brief of these three important aspects of human resource management: job analysis, job description, and job specification. Let's move forward and try to understand one by one to understand the significance. So let's go to the concept of job analysis. As already I had given you a brief description of what is job analysis. When we look at the components of job analysis, we'll get a in-depth understanding of what is this concept. As already I said, job analysis lays the foundation for many other concepts. And if you look at the components of job analysis, it is indeed true. So when we talk about job analysis here, we are trying to collect the information on work activities. It could be any job, starting from the security to the CEO. So we are trying to list down all the jobs, and every jobs we are trying to collect the information of the work activities in every particular job, and what is the human behavior which is involved in the job, and what are the machines, what are the tools, equipments, and work aids that are involved in performing the particular job, and what are the performance standards which are laid down to perform the job. So these are four important components of job analysis. As we had seen, that this is a broader concept. This involves collecting all the possible information which is required to perform a particular job. And as we go forward, we try to narrow down to job description and job specification. So here now we are trying to understand the job analysis. So what are the activities that are involved in performing a job? You take an example of an accountant. So what are the activities involved in performing accountant job, or maintaining the ledgers, or cash management, or books management, account books management, reporting to the bank manager, maintaining the balance in the account. So there are many other aspects which are involved in the accounting job. So that all includes in the work activities. And what are the human behaviors involved in this job? Could be his relationship with the supervisor or the head of the department. Could be his relationship with the customers who come to the bank to draw the money or deposit money, or whatever the transactions may be. So the human behaviors which are involved in the particular job, and the machines, the tools and equipments and the work aids that are used by the accountant to perform the job also has to be considered. And finally, what is that the organization is expecting from a person who is performing this accounts job? So that's called performance standards, the expectations of the organization from the person who is performing this job. Laying down these performance standards is very important to increase the productivity of the person and to increase the performance of the organization as a whole. So these are the four important aspects of job analysis, which helps us to understand the depth of this concept. As I already said, this is a broader concept, and it involves these four major areas. And these four major areas further helps to do the job description and to do job specification. So let's again try to understand a few more things on job analysis. So when we are trying to do job analysis of any job, what is the information that we derive from the job analysis? So these are a few points that we can understand the different types of information, the varied information that we can arrive after doing the job analysis. So you have job title or job identification. Every job has its identification. We don't differentiate here any jobs, but it has its own identification. It has its own title, including its code number. Now, for example, you can call me as accounts officer. That's the title. You can call me as a junior manager, HR. That becomes a title. Deputy general manager. That becomes a title. Security officer. That becomes a title. IT manager. That becomes a title. Customer relationship manager. That becomes a title. So in this way, now I think you can list down all the titles in any particular organization, whether it is a service industry or it is a manufacturing company. So you will find definitely jobs with some or the other titles. So the first aspect of job analysis is identifying what actually is the job, which includes the title and the code numbers. Now we have in the organizations a practice of giving an identification number to each employee, and that's called code number. It is also called as ID number, sometimes identification number, where it is mentioned on the ID cards of the employees, which helps to identify the employee. And thus, we go forward now to understand what else is included in job analysis. So, this is a basic requirement in job analysis. That's the job identification, which includes title and code number or identification number of the employee or of the job. Then you have other characteristics of the job which we have to collect if you have to do the job analysis. The location of the job, from where the employee is performing the job, the location is very important. It helps to understand what are the hardships that the employee is going through, what kind of environment that the employee is working in. That's very important aspect. Then you have physical setting of the job. Again, this is a continuation of location. What is the physical setting of the job, whether it's an office setting, whether he is working on the shop floor. So it helps to understand how physically the job is located, to understand again what are the different hardships that the employee is going through, and what are the facilities that can be provided to the employee under these physical conditions or physical setting. Then you have supervision, which is required to perform the job. What is the level of supervision which is required? For example, this job is unskilled job, so it demands more supervision. But if an employee is very skilled, who is performing this job, he is self-regulating, he is self-supervised. That's one of the important aspects of the job. Then union jurisdiction, whether this job comes under union jurisdiction is very important because it has got other implications also. Then what are the hazards and discomforts involved in performing this job? So this gives a few more details about the job. So we started with job identification, with just a title and the identification number. Then we go to understand more features of the job: location, physical setting, supervision, and what is the union jurisdiction, and hazards and discomforts involved in performing the job. Then we have what actually the worker does in performing a job. So the first 2 points relate to the job, whereas the third point relates to the person who performs the job. It's very important. So we have two aspects here in the job analysis, as we already have seen. One is a technical aspect. So when I say technical aspects, we are trying to understand the job. Now we are trying to understand the human aspect. Here we are trying to understand the person who is going to perform the job. So what are the specific operations and the tasks that make up the assignment of the person is what we're trying to understand here. And the relative timing and the importance of the job, the simplicity, the routine or the complexity of the job, the responsibility or the safety of others for property, funds, confidence, and trust, which is involved in this job. So all these are the human aspects of the person that is going to perform the job. So, as I already said, job analysis is a very broad concept which helps to understand in a detailed way what are the requirements or skills which are required to perform a particular job, which include job identification, which includes the features of the job, and also the responsibilities of the person who is performing the job, the skills that is required in a person who performs a particular job. So that's about the requirements of the job analysis, or we can say the outcome of the job analysis. So if we go forward and try to understand a few more information that is provided by job analysis. What are the materials and equipments that a worker uses? Like metals, it could be plastic sometimes, it could be grains, yarns, milling machines, punch presses, micrometers. These are some of the examples. Some jobs, especially which are technical in nature, especially in manufacturing concerns, we find those the employees who deal with a lot of equipments, a lot of materials, especially the blue collar workers, so-called technical employees, they have to handle many materials and equipments. So based on that, we can also understand the training requirement also, the dexterity skill which is required among the employees to handle different materials and equipments. That's the use of having this information. Then you have how job is performed, the nature of operation. For example, it could be lifting, it could be handling, cleaning, washing, feeding, removing, drilling, driving, setting up, many others. These are some of the manners in which a job can be performed, especially in a manufacturing concern where employees are technical workers. They have a lot of activities involving lifting and handling and cleaning. And when it comes to uh, white collar jobs, also we have many other manners of performance of the job. It could be how to handle the people and also how to settle the grievances. So these are different aspects which are involved in performing a job. So we are going in detail here. We're trying to understand what actually job is. And then the sixth aspect is the personal attributes which is required to perform a particular job. It's a very important aspect. What are the personal attributes which is required in the person to perform the job effectively? So it could be experience of the employee or training requirements or apprenticeship, physical strength. Sometimes the job requires physical strength, especially the blue collar workers who are handling the things, who are lifting the things. They need physical strength. Some jobs like the police department, defense, they need physical strength. Then you have coordination or dexterity, especially a person who is performing or who is a multi-tasking employee. He needs a lot of coordination skills. He needs dexterity skills to handle different things in a same time. And then you have mental capabilities, then you have aptitudes, then you have social skills, physical demands. These are different personal attributes which are required among the employees. So we are trying to collect all the possible information which is required to perform a job, starting from the title of the job till the personal attributes which are required to perform a particular job. And then we go to the seventh aspect, the job relationship, because we have to understand in organization that no employee, no job is independent. It is connected with other jobs. All the employees in the organization, they are interconnected, they are interdependent. Now, that's a very important aspect that we should remember in the organization context, that all are connected, all are interdependent. So we have to understand even the job relationship that is involved in the particular job, experience required, the opportunities for advancement, patterns of promotions, essential cooperation, very important in job relationship, establishing good cooperation among employees, direction which is required, or leadership from and for a job. So these are some of the important aspects of job relationship. Very important is the relationship of a particular job with the other job is what we need to understand. So when we are trying to analyze a particular job, we have to consider all these aspects, which gives a very broader view of the job. So here we can understand that we are trying to collect all the possible information which is required to perform a particular job. So starting from the job identification, starting from the job title. So that's very important aspect of job analysis. So that's about job analysis. So we had seen very important uh, aspect of human resource management, which lays foundation to many other concepts, which is job analysis, where the HR is trying to collect the possible information which is required to perform a particular job, which includes work activities, human behaviors, and the machines and tools which are required to perform the job and the performance standards. And to complete this job analysis, we had seen some of the varied information that has to be collected by the HR to do an in-depth job analysis, which starts from job identification, then the features of the job, then what the worker has to do on the job, the equipments that required to be used by the person on the job, and how a job is performed, the manner in which job is performed, the personal attributes which are required among the employees to perform the job, and finally, the job relationship. So these are the three aspects of job analysis that we have discussed. So it's a foundational concept for many other concepts, as already we have seen. As already we had seen that it's a broader concept. It tries to understand all in all the possible angles how a job is performed, when it is performed, and who has to perform it, in what place it has to be performed. So these are all the different phases of job analysis. So let's go forward and try to understand how to collect the information to perform the job analysis, whether it's a job identification or job characteristics or what the worker has to do on the job, or what are the materials required, or what is the manner in which the job is performed, and what are the personal attributes, or could be a job relationship. So, what are the methods that can be used to collect all this information? There are a few techniques which can be used to collect the information on all these areas and do a better job analysis. So now let's move to the job analysis methods. There are popularly four important methods that can be used to collect the information to do job analysis. Observation is a very popular method. It's a very strong tool to collect the information on job analysis. Interview method, personal records, and then personal interviews. These are the four important techniques which can be used to collect information on job analysis. So let's go one by one and try to understand how we can use these methods to collect the information on job analysis. The first important tool, a very strong tool that can be used, is the observation tool. Now, what we do in observation tool or in observation technique? Here, the observer, it could be HR manager, it could be department head, it could be anyone who is trying to do the job analysis, who is observing the employee, who is observing the work environment, who is observing the work setting directly, or it could be indirectly sometimes. So that gives us again types of observation. This you must have studied in your research also. So the first aspect is the participant observation. Now here the observer, who is, it could be the HR manager or the heads of the departments who are trying to do the job analysis, they are actually becoming the direct participants with the employees who are being observed to understand the details of the job. Sometimes it is required for the observers to become the part of the phenomena that they are observing to understand even the minute details of the job which are required to perform a job. So in that case, the observer here uses the participant observation. So sometimes here the HR manager or the head of the department could involve himself with others' jobs to understand how they're performing, what they're performing. They sometimes can talk to the employees, and they can even converse with the employees, they can interact with the employees and try to understand how the job is being performed. So here the observer is becoming a participant and is trying directly to observe and try to gather the information on a particular job. And then you have non-participant observation. Sometimes observer don't want to disturb the natural context in which job is being performed, which sometimes may result in failure of not collecting the information which is required to do job analysis. So in that case, the observer can use non-participant observation. Sometimes here, the observer will use the gadgets or the electronic instruments to observe a particular employee performing a job or observe a particular work environment to understand various aspects of the job and to do the job analysis. And sometimes controlled observation also is used, especially in case of training. Here, the observer may select few employees and control them a particular controlled environment and try to know what is the performance, what is their effectiveness in performing the job, and thus try to analyze the job and try to know what is the training requirement which is involved in the particular job. So there, controlled observation can be used, where uh, the people who are being observed, the phenomena which is being observed, is put in a controlled environment. And then you have uncontrolled observation. Sometimes it is not possible to observe the phenomena of the employees who are performing the job in a controlled manner. So it requires uncontrolled observation. So that's a very important aspect of job analysis. So observation can be done by the observer in these four ways, and collect the information about the job, about how it is performed, about the characteristics of the person who is performing the job, and the various other requirements to do the job analysis. So very strong tool which can be used to collect the information on the job and do the job analysis. Then you have the second aspect, which is called interview. We know what is interview, where one person interacts with other person face to face, or it could be a phone interview, or we can call telephonic interview also, or a face to face personal interview also. Now we are more concerned about the personal interview, which helps us to understand, to know the details of the job, as telephonic interview doesn't give that feasibility or that flexibility. So we are more concerned about the personal interview here. So when I'm doing job analysis of a particular job through this method, that is to interview method, some of the typical questions that I can ask, or a HR can ask, or head of the department, or whoever is doing the job analysis, he may ask these typical questions to the employee who is performing the job to get more details on the job. For example, what is the job being performed? Who are the members of your work group? It helps us to know the team in which the employee is working. It helps us to know the group in which the employee is working. How long have you been doing this work? It helps us to know the tenure that the employee has spent in performing the job. It helps us to understand the experience of the employee. What exactly are the major duties of your position? That could be one more question, which helps us to understand what are the responsibilities and duties involved in performing a particular job. What are the health and safety conditions involved in performing a particular job? So that also helps us to know the working environment in which the employee is working, which may further help the organization to frame a better health policy for the organizations. Other question could be, what are the basic accountabilities, performance standards that typify your work? So this helps to understand what are the performance standards laid down to perform a particular job. And it also helps them to understand how important is the job by looking at the performance standards. So these are some of the typical questions that can be asked by the HR or the person who is doing the job analysis, who is carrying out the job analysis, to understand about the job, to get the details about the job. So that's interview method, which can be structured or unstructured. We know what is structured and unstructured. In structured method, we try to be very particular about what we are asking, and most of the questions in structured method are closed-ended method. It is a well-planned method. It is a well-structured interview, especially when we are doing the job analysis of high-profile jobs. It needs planning. It needs predetermined actions to be taken to perform the job analysis. So we conduct structured interview. Sometimes interview is unstructured also, where we provide a lot of room to the employees to think and answer about how the job is being performed, which is an open-ended method to perform this interview. So you must have studied this in your research also, where we talk about structured interview and unstructured interview. So both are very important to understand how the job is being performed, what are the aspects involved in job. So that's structured method and unstructured method. So these are the three aspects that are involved in collecting the information about the job analysis. So we had seen about how we do the job analysis, what are the methods that can be used to do the job analysis. The first is observation method. We can use all these methods to observe the job, to observe the person who is performing the job and collect all the information which is required to perform a particular job. And then we can use interview method with a structured and unstructured method to collect the information about the job, the details about the job. Now let's move forward and try to understand more about job analysis. Why we have to do job analysis? We know what is job analysis. We know how to do job analysis. Now we have to understand why we should do job analysis. Without having any objective, it is unfruitful to perform any function or any activity. So it's very important to understand the purpose of any concept. So when it comes to job analysis, we have seen it's a broader concept where we are trying to collect the possible information which is required to perform a particular job and uh, who is to perform the job. And also we had seen that how to do job analysis through observation, through interview and other methods. And very important aspect of job analysis is the objective, why we have to do job analysis. So these are some of the important points that helps us to understand why we have to do job analysis. As already I had said, job analysis lays the foundation for many other activities. Well, these are some of the functions that becomes more effective with the help of job analysis. So the first aspect is organization and manpower planning. It becomes very easy for the human resource department or human resource manager to plan the workforce based on the job analysis. Because now the human resource department knows what are the different jobs which are available, what are the different duties to be performed, what are the different accountabilities that are involved in a particular job, what are the skills required to perform a particular job, the experience required. So now HR has all the information which is required to perform a particular job. Based on the information he has, based on the job analysis, now HR can plan the manpower, whether current manpower or future manpower requirements. So that's the very important purpose of job analysis, which helps in manpower planning. And then you have recruitment and selection, a very important function of human resource management. So here we should understand, without having information about the kind of jobs that is to be performed in the organization, the kind of people who are required to perform the job, uh, going forward to recruitment and selection is in vain. So that's where the role of job analysis comes into picture. So with the help of job analysis information, human resource department can plan the recruitment and selection activities. That's the benefit of job analysis. Then we have wage and salary administration. This is a very important aspect when it comes to the purpose of job analysis because employees work for money, they look for reward, wage or salary, and which is a tangible aspect of job analysis. So we are here trying to understand that job analysis helps in preparing a suitable wage structure, a salary structure for a particular job. For example, in job analysis, we have seen that we try to collect the information on experience and skill and education required to perform a particular job. So, at this particular level of education, this experience, so what salary can be paid, what wage can be paid, can be decided. So, that's a very important tangible benefit of job analysis. Then, further moving forward, uh, with the help of job analysis, we can even devise a training and development program for our employees because job analysis gives information on the skill set of the employees. So based on the skill set of the employees, we can even plan the training, assessment of the employees and the development needs among the employees. which helps further to groom the employees to contribute to the overall performance of the organization. So that's another important tangible benefit of job analysis. It helps in devising, in planning, training, and development activities. And we have other important purpose of job analysis, the performance appraisal. This is an activity. This is a very important activity of human resource management, and every employee eagerly waits for his yearly appraisal. And with the help of job analysis, it becomes very important or very easy for the HR to undertake the performance appraisal activity, because one of the important information in job analysis, what we have seen, is laying down the of performance standards of performance. That's one of the important information that is collected in job analysis. So with that information, definitely the HR or the heads of the departments, whoever is involved in performance appraisal process, it becomes very easy for them to carry out this task, as already the performance standards are laid, and it becomes easy for them to compare the actual performance of the employees and find the deviation and then do the appraisal. And the other important aspect of job analysis, or the purpose of job analysis, is job re-engineering. We talk much about re-engineering in the total quality management. And re-engineering is one of the mantra to achieve the total quality management in the organization. So what is job re-engineering, and why we need to re-engineer the jobs? Now here we should understand the word re-engineering means remodifying, changing the job structure. Now why we have to re-engineer the jobs? When you look around the world, we can see the amount of change that is happening is indeed unimaginable. Changes could be economical, changes could be political, changes could be technological, changes could be demographic. So there are many changes that are happening around us. And if we don't understand the change and change the job according to the change in the surrounding environment, we cannot achieve efficiency or effectiveness in the job. So that is the role of re-engineering, where we try to remodify, we try to re-engineer the job according to the changes that are happening around us. That's very important aspect of re-engineering. We also call this business process re-engineering, BPR. So this re-engineering is also possible with the help of job analysis. So if the HR or the heads of the departments, if they don't have the information on the jobs, it becomes very difficult for them to re-engineer the jobs. So that's the purpose of job analysis. And finally, we have health and safety aspect. Job analysis helps in achieving a good health and safe working environment in the organization. Because we had seen in job analysis, one of the information that is collected in the job analysis is information on working environment, information on the work setting, which helps us to know what are the health standards which are maintained in performing the job, what are the safety requirements to perform the particular job. So based on the job analysis, it becomes very easy for the HR to prepare the policy on health and safety, which is a very important aspect nowadays. When we look at the business world now, because of this pandemic, health and safety takes a prime position in developing a good working environment, whether it's a remote or whether it's an on-site working environment. So health and safety has to be assured, and a job analysis helps in doing that. So this is the purpose of job analysis. So we had seen what is job analysis, we had seen how to do the job analysis, and now we are looking into why we have to do the job analysis. So let us have a quick recap of these three concepts. We had seen what is job analysis. So we had seen job analysis in general tries to gather all the possible information which is required to perform a particular job and who has to perform a particular job. And then how to do that? There are some techniques that we had seen that can be used to collect the information on how job has to be done and who has to do it. So we have seen we can use observation method, we can use interview method also to understand how this job can be performed. And we can use even the questionnaire method we have not discussed here. In the next session, we'll be discussing with the example of a sample questionnaire how to do the job analysis with the questionnaire method. In the questionnaire method, uh, usually the HR or the heads of the departments or the experts who are doing the job analysis, they distribute the well-structured questionnaire regarding a particular job, and they try to collect all the possible information of a particular job on the person who is doing the particular job and tries to analyze the job. So these are the three important techniques which are available: the observation method, we have the interview method, and we have the questionnaire method, which can be used to do the job analysis and to collect all the information pertaining to a job and the person who is going to perform the job. So having understood these three aspects of job analysis, let us move forward and try to understand what is job description. Because now that's a continuity we should understand. We are trying to understand the continuity here. So once the job analysis is done, now HR's role is to prepare JDs of every job, or we call job descriptions of every job. So let's go and try to understand what is job description. So we have some bullet points. So let me uh, take few important aspects what actually job description means. We are trying to understand the job itself and not with the work. That's very important aspect of job description. So we are trying to describe the job. Here we are not trying to describe the person who is doing the job. Here we are trying to describe the job itself. That's important feature of job description. It's a statement describing the job, like job title, its location, duties, working conditions, and hazards. So we are trying to see only the one face of a coin here, only the technical aspect in job description. So job description helps us to know what is the job. So we are not talking about the person here, we are talking about the job. In other words, it tells us what is to be done and how it is to be done and why it is to be done. So we are not talking about who it is to be done. We're talking about what is the job, how to do the job, and why to do the job. And who is to perform the job, that discussed in job specification. Okay? That's a very important difference that we should understand here. Whereas job analysis speaks about all these aspects. It speaks about job description and also job specification. So as I already said, it's a foundational concept which helps us to do the other functions also, like job description and job specification. So JD is more concerned about understanding the job, not the person. Okay. So this also is very important concept to have an in-depth knowledge about the job. So let's move forward and try to understand what are the different components of job description. Just like we had different components of job analysis, we also have some of the different components of job description, like job identification. Already we have seen this in job analysis, where we try to identify the job by its title, by its identification number. And we have job summary, a brief summary of how the job is done. Job duties, which are involved in performing the job, the responsibilities which are involved in performing a job. And then you have a relationship to other jobs, how this job is related to others. So you take any kind of job, there is an interconnection, there is a link with other jobs, whether it could be a manager or deputy manager, or it could be a foreman or a safety officer, or it could be CEO or administrator. You take any job titles, they have a link with other jobs. So that is about relation to other jobs. Then supervision, the level of supervision which is required to perform the job. Okay. And the working conditions in which the job is performed. So these are some of the technical aspects which are required to prepare the JD of a particular job. Usually, whenever we go for campus interviews, one of the first question that the candidate asks or the prospective employee asks is, what is the JD? What is the job description? Because based on the job description, the candidate decides to opt for the job or not. Because this description helps the candidate to know whether he is suitable to the job or not. The job identification, summary duties, his relationship to others, and supervision and working conditions in which the employee or the candidate will be working. So that's about job description, the components of job description. Just like we had seen how to develop the job analysis, some of the methods can be used, the techniques which can be used to collect the information to perform the job analysis, even to develop the job description, to create the JDs, some of the techniques that can be used. We can use observation method. We can observe the employees while on the work and try to understand how it is being performed. Study of specially maintained diaries can be used. It speaks about the records, especially if you look at some of the jobs which are very technical in nature, highly responsible jobs. Here, the employees maintain certain diaries, certain records where each and every moment in the job is recorded, which helps us to understand how the job is performed. So that becomes a source of information to develop JDs. Then you have a review of critical incidents. This is one of the important technique even in performance appraisal. Based on the critical incidents, we can appraise how the employees performed. But we're not talking about appraisal here. We're talking about developing a JD. So by reviewing the critical incidents involved in particular job, we can understand how critical is the job and how important is the job, how simple is the job. So these are the different aspects that can be identified by studying the critical incidents involved in a particular job. And these critical incidents can be reviewed only if they are recorded. So it's very important for the organization to establish a system where all the critical incidents performed in a particular job are recorded, which helps us to further develop the job descriptions for similar kind of jobs. Then we have discussions with departmental heads and outside experts or consultants. So we sometimes may consult the experts, the department heads, to understand about the job and develop a good job description. So these are some of the techniques that can be used to develop or to prepare a job description. We can use observation. We can study the records related to the job. We can study the critical incidents related to the job in the past and try to know whether it's a positive or negative, and that helps us to understand the nature of the job. And sometimes we may even discuss with the department heads and experts to understand a particular job if I don't have enough knowledge about the job, and develop a good JD of a particular job. That's a very important role of the HR manager, to develop a good JD, to do a good job description, and that helps us to have an in-depth knowledge about the job. As we have discussed why we have to do job description. So we have discussed even in job analysis, what is job analysis, how it is done, and why it is done. Similarly, we have seen what is job description, how we can develop the job description, and why we have to do job description. What is the purpose of job description? You have many advantages of having job descriptions of a particular job. So we are not trying to uh, take the list of the jobs here. So we should understand different sectors have different kinds of jobs with different titles. So when every job is described in detail, now these are some of the advantages of having job descriptions. So JD helps in job grading and classification. By looking at JD, we can understand what is the nature of the job, and we can grade the jobs. Especially in government organizations, we can find jobs are graded like grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, based on the working environment, based on the risk that the employee takes, based on the responsibility that is involved in the job, which is involved in job description. So jobs are graded and classified. So based on job description. So this is very important purpose of JD. Transfers and promotions can be decided based on job descriptions, because in job descriptions we'll try to understand the worth of a job, which helps us to understand how important is the job, and we can decide based on that the transfers and promotions. We can even adjust the grievances, or we can even handle the grievances based on the job description. We can define and outline promotional steps, already we have seen. We can establish a common understanding of a job between employers and employees. We can investigate accidents, as we already had seen that reviewing critical incidents records is one of the important aspects of JD. We can even investigate accidents with the help of JD. Indicating faulty work procedures or duplication of papers is also possible with the help of JD. We can even maintain, operate, and adjust machinery which is involved to perform a particular job based on the job description. We can even do the time and motion studies with the help of job description, because in some of the jobs we see sometimes there is excess movement, excess time which is involved in performing the job, and how to reduce that excess movement, to reduce the fatigue, and also to improve the efficiency. So we can undertake this time and motion studies, which already we have studied when we discussed about F.W. Taylor, who is called the father of scientific management, who's he also is a pioneer in developing time and motion studies. So that's the use of job description. It helps us to undertake time and motion studies. It helps to define the limits of authority. Jurisdiction is one of the important aspects of a job. To whom the employee is to report, what are his limits of authority, of decision making, can be understood through job description. Indicating case of personal merit, personal attributes, personal worth in performing a particular job can be understood through job description. Facilitating job placement. Sometimes organization place the right employee in the wrong place and thus incur loss. The efficiency is not assured. So it's very important for the organization to place the right employee in the right place, which is possible through a proper job description. So job description helps in proper placement of the employees. It also helps in maintaining health of the employees, reducing fatigue of the employees. As already we have seen, the health and safety is one of the information which is included in job description, and also helps in conducting scientific guidance based on the evidence, based on the records that the job description is created. HR managers or heads of the departments, they can scientifically guide their employees rather than based on their judgment, personal judgment, or on their personal intuition. So it's very important to perform the activities scientifically, where we take into consideration the evidence. So job description helps in scientific guidance. It also helps in providing information for hiring. That's where we talk about job specification. That's a next concept where job description helps in hiring also. Providing performance indicators. Job description helps us to understand what are the performance standards. So when we go through any job description, we can easily understand what is the expectation which is expected from the manager or the head of the department or from the organization out of the job. So that's the purpose of preparing job descriptions. So that's the second aspect that we have discussed now, job description. So we had seen what is job analysis, how it is to be done, and why we have to do job analysis. Then based on the job analysis, we describe the jobs, that's called JD. So we had seen what is JD, we go in depth analysis of the job and try to describe the job. And how to do that, we have seen that we can use again, observation method, we can use interview method, we can use records, review of critical instance. So these are some of the techniques which can be used to develop JDs. And why we have to develop JDs? We have seen many uses of developing JDs. So having understood the concept of job description, let us go forward and try to understand the final aspect of our discussion, job specification. So we are narrowing down from broader to specific aspect. So job analysis is a broader concept where we try to collect the possible information which is required to perform a particular job and who has to perform it. Whereas in job description, we are trying to describe a job, not a person. But now in job specification, we are trying to describe specifications which are required in a person to perform a particular job. As the point clearly says here, it is a standard of personnel and designates the qualities required for an acceptable performance. So here we are more concerned about the person, not on the job. So job description speaks more on the job aspect, whereas job specification speaks more on the person aspect. So you can see the second point. It is a written record of the requirements sought in an individual worker for a given job. So we are more concerned about a worker or the employee or the candidate that who's going to perform a particular job than on the job. In other words, it's a summary of the personal characteristics required to perform a particular job. So, what are the personal characteristics which the organization should expect from a particular person who is going to perform a job? So, let's see the components, then we'll try to understand. So, there are three components of job specification. The first component is a physical characteristic. Irrespective of the job, there is a physical feature which is involved in selecting an employee, which may include the health of the employee, the strength of the employee, the endurance which is required, age range, body size, height, weight, vision, voice, poise, eye contact, hand and foot coordination, motor coordination, and color discrimination. So these are some of the physical characteristics that should be looked in the candidate or the employee when we try to recruit him. Some jobs require health aspects, which is very important feature of the personal attribute of a candidate. How healthy is the employee? And the strength aspect, especially the jobs which are blue collar in nature, technical jobs. This should be one of the important requirement that HR or the heads of the department should be looked into. The strength of the employee, the endurance, patience which is required among the employees, age range. What is the age group that I'm looking among the employees to select them? That's very important. Body size, height of the employee, weight of the employee, the vision of the employee, the voice and poise, eye contact. For example, if I'm recruiting a teacher, I have to consider the voice of the teacher, the eye contact of the teacher. So all these features are job specific. You should understand. And the foot coordination, sometimes the hand and foot coordination. Some jobs, for example, if I'm appointing a driver, now I'll be looking how he moves his hands and feet simultaneously. So that could be one specific skill that I will be looking, the specific physical character that I will be looking in the candidate. Motor coordination, especially if I am appointing a person to handle different machines. So how well he can handle the different machines effectively. So I look at the motor coordination and the color discrimination. Some jobs require to identify the colors It's very important for such jobs to have good physical characteristic of color discrimination. So all these features are job specific. So we are not trying to understand each job now. So now I think you have understood that how important is a physical feature in performing a particular job, starting from health aspect to the other aspects like hand movement, feet movement, the height, weight of the employees. All this is very important. For example, if I'm appointing a police officer, they very minutely check the height and weight, the vision of the candidate, and many candidates are disqualified with a very slight difference in the height, weight, or vision, or whatever the physical characteristic they are looking in. So in some jobs they play a very vital role, and some jobs they may not play a very vital role. For example, if I'm appointing an accountant, so for me height is not a big deal, or weight is not a big concern for me. For me, very big concern could be vision or eye contact, because he has to deal with the cash, and there are many other dealings that the employee has to deal. So I may have to look into other physical features than height and weight. So these features are general features which are very job specific. So we should understand that. So the first aspect of job specification is the physical features. Then we have the second aspect, the psychological features or the special aptitudes, which includes like manual dexterity, mechanical aptitude, uh, ingenuity, you have judgment, resourcefulness, analytical ability, mental concentration, and alertness. So now we are not looking at the physical features, we are looking something about psychological features which are required to perform a particular job. The manual dexterity, especially a person doing a technical job, may require a very good manual dexterity. A person who is handling a very sensitive machine, he needs a good mechanical aptitude. A person who is involved in taking decisions, critical decisions, he need good judgment skills. A person who is involved in allocating the resources to different departments and different people, he needs the ability to use the resources properly. And people who are involved in dealing with numbers, they need analytical ability and reasoning ability. And people who are involved in dealing with people, interpersonal skills, counseling employees, they need sometimes mental concentration, they need alertness to observe the employee behavior. So again, these are all the characteristics which are job specific, but all comes under psychological features. A very important aspect of job specification, because the physical features always are not so important when it comes to any particular job. Uh, Exceptions are that there are a few jobs where physical features play a very important role, but not very important compared to psychological features, because nowadays psychological aspect plays very important role. The third aspect of job specification is the personal features. So this is the final feature. There are many other features, but broadly we categorize into three aspects. One is the physical features, and one is the psychological features, and one is the personal features required among the employees who are going to perform the job. Like temperament, example, like personal appearance, good pleasing manners, emotional stability, aggressiveness, submissiveness. Some jobs needs to be extroverted. Sometimes employees performing some jobs requires introversion, leadership qualities to perform the job, cooperativeness, initiative and drive, skill in dealing with others, unusual sensory qualities of sight, smell, hearing, adaptability, conversational ability, and so on. So these are all personal attributes which are required among employees to perform the job effectively. which are equally important when compared to the psychological attributes. So now we have understood the three important specifications that are required when we hire any candidate. We have to look the physical aspect. We have to even very importantly look the psychological aspect. And the third, again very important, is the personal attributes in the candidate, in the employee, that determines how well is going to perform the particular job. So when we talk about the usage of job specification, it is mainly used for recruitment. So job specifications main purpose is to effectively carry out the recruitment drives. So we have seen the job analysis, how to do it and what is the purpose of doing. We had seen what is job description, how to do it and what is the purpose of doing job description. And now we have seen job specification, what is it and how to do it, and the different components which are involved in job specification. And there are some other aspects in job specification, like demographic features, the age of the employee, the gender of the employee, education, experience, and language ability. These are also some of the important aspects can be looked in job specification. So when you look at any advertisement, we can find all these areas, including the physical aspects, the psychological aspects, the personal aspects, and sometimes even these other aspects also we can find in the job specifications. So if you have to understand the job specifications, you have to go through different advertisements given by different companies about their vacancies. There you will come to know what are different components they have covered in job specifications. So please go through some of the recruitment advertisements to understand how usually job specification looks, or how to understand the different components involved in job specification. Each company has different components which they have considered in specifying the requirements to perform a job. Not all companies give equal importance to all three components. Some companies give more importance to the personal attributes like leadership, communication skills, the attitude of the employee. Some companies give more preference to the physical aspects. Again, it is job specific. Some companies give more preference to the psychological aspects. So that's again depending upon the nature of the organization, that depends upon the nature of the job, and there are many other factors which determine in deciding that aspect. So this is about job analysis, job description, and job specification. Thank you for your patient listening. Hope you have understood these three important concepts of human resource management. Please go through the slides again and try to have a better understanding of these three concepts. And please come again to me if you have any doubts or clarifications. Mail to me or message me for any doubts or clarifications. And do not forget to subscribe my channel to get more updates on human resource aspects. And we'll meet in the next session to discuss about job evaluation and about the promotion aspects, about the transfer aspects, and other minor aspects of human resource management. So we conclude this session here. So in this session, we have mainly concentrated on three important aspects: job analysis, job description, and job specification. So these three important concepts again are the foundational concepts for many other concepts that we have not yet discussed in this session, like job evaluation is there, job design is there, job re-engineering. So these are some of the different concepts which can be further studied with the help of these three important elements of human resource management.